that? Is it because I'm 10? And this is just hard to be inspired by things when you're 10 because you're just a little fucking dork and you're running around reading comic books and paying attention to other things and you don't really care about math or you don't care about history. What is it? But whatever it is, the system's not working for you. You have to find some sort of inspiration outside of it. And I've been educated almost entirely outside of schools. Almost all of what I know from books that I read because I was interested, or I listened to audiobooks, or I listened to podcasts, or I had conversations with people like you. That's how I learned things. And it wasn't that I wasn't interested. It wasn't that I wasn't smart. It was that I was not inspired. I didn't know that I wasn't a loser until I got really good at other things. And I'm like, I can get good at things. Okay, so if I can get good at things, it's not that I'm a loser. It's just like, I can't work a job. I can't just show up every day and do something that's not exciting to me. But that doesn't mean I'm useless. It just means I'm useless for that. I don't have the personality to just sit there and go over paperwork. I can't. I'll go crazy. But that go crazy part is also what lets you have the courage or the motivation to go and try a path that seems unlikely for success, and to have the courage to say, well, some people succeed, why don't I fucking try it? And just, I can't do this, fuck it, let's give it a go. And then that's how you become a stand-up comedian. Nobody thinks that's a good path. Like, out of 100 stand-up comedians that do open mic night, maybe one will have some sort of a career in comedy.
Well, I'm really glad you're telling me this, because back when I was a college professor before 2017, I used to be, since I was a terrible student myself, I was fascinated by the students who had really high potential but were just not a good fit for school. So I was really interested in what made people smart, especially when it had nothing to do with school or happened in spite of school. And your story fits perfectly here. In fact, what you describe is sort of the equivalent of a learning disability, right? Like suspicion that your teachers aren't all that, and maybe you're not so thrilled at sitting there listening to them. Occasionally it sounds like you had a teacher who was pretty good. But
yes, thank God.
Me too. I had about 1 in 5 teachers.
That's good. That's a great number.
Wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the time, school was so busy dismissing me as, not performing to potential, was what it said every time on my report card, right? That it was just really demoralizing. And I remember sort of in the second grade having a kind of choice. I didn't know what it was that I was choosing between, but it was like, I can either surrender to their understanding of who I am, or I can stop respecting them. And so it created an attitude problem. Sounds like you had a similar attitude problem. And I wish I could give every student that attitude problem.
The difference is, when I was 13 years old, I didn't have the internet. And the kids today that are 13 years old, they can get inspired by so many different things. They'll go and find a YouTube video on ancient civilizations, and then all of a sudden they're inspired and they want to learn about this and that. And there's so many different things that can fire you up intellectually that are outside of the school system. Where back then it was just the school system and occasionally books. Someone would recommend books, but there was no documentaries that people could just rent. There wasn't the kind of access to stimulating ideas that is available today, which I think is like unprecedented. The amount of access to interesting